I think I was watching CNN when all of a sudden word started to come down that we were going to be going into this kind of state of emergency.
When it really hit me was when we received an email from our president and CEO stating that we had received our first patient with COVID-19.
We feel very, educated. This is our profession. So to walk into a new disease and we don't know anything about it really was a new experience for all.
There's nothing that can prepare you for this type of event.
I don't know if I could explain it to somebody and really verbalize what it was like.
I think everybody just got that fear in their eye because we didn't know anything about it.
One of my colleagues, an infectious disease doctor, said to me, we have to open a tent. We have to start collecting samples for COVID. This is big. And that's when it really hit me that this is just something that is going to change our lives and our children's lives forever.
It was scary. What's the best thing to do? Am I bringing home this virus to my children? Am I putting them at risk?
It was very nerve-wracking to go into a room with our PPE on thinking, is this enough? Are we going to get sick? Is this going to be us? We're young and healthy, but can we fight it? It seems to be, a disease that just will take anybody.
I knew it was going to impact my family, it was going to impact me, it was going to impact the hospital and our patients that we care about.
We were at work and it was here. There was no time for thinking or anything. It was just, let's go.
It was a lot of doubt as a physician that I had never dealt with before, in treating a patient and not seeing them get better. That was something that I really had to deal with and something that I never really expected.
And just seeing how truly sick these patients were and having to learn as we went about how to treat them. And that was the first moment that I said, wow, this is really different than what we've dealt with before.
We had people that we worked with that were getting put on ventilators. And that was really hard.
People would come to work and leave work and you'd wonder, will I see my colleague again the next day? Will this patient be here tomorrow? Will they be here tonight? None of us had ever practiced medicine in that kind of setting. It was very scary.
7 days a week, 12, 14, 16-hour days, and just feeling like everything I was doing wasn't quite enough.
You couldn't just yell out like you could before because you would look out, you would open the doors and there would be nobody out there because they'd all be stuck in rooms.
When there was this pandemic, I realized that I have made a pledge that I'm going to do my best to take care of my patients.
We pulled together unanimously, and it wasn't just one hospital, it was the entire state. That right there is showing that healthcare kind of bonded together as a whole, and I think everything kind of picked up from there.
I remember my husband saying to me, okay, are you gonna take some time off? You gonna take a little leave? No, this is it. This is our time. This is what we came to do.
I would say probably within a week, we started seeing patients coming in rapidly.
There was 2 floors in this building that didn't have COVID. It was oncology and the cardiac floor. Every other floor in this building had COVID.
And you would have to look out for certain things with them and monitor their respiratory status, different oxygens that they could be on, and they can quickly decompensate to having to be intubated and coming into critical care.
They were sicker and they were scared and they were panicking. And we were taking care of these people that we knew more than likely weren't going to be making it.
And I saw people keep coming, people pass. And one of the patients tell me, help me breathe, Carol, help me breathe.
It's got to a point that it's worse on you. Most of the time when patients are at the end of their life, they get opportunity to have their families around to support them. But I served as that family member at that moment, holding their hands and letting them know that you still have people who love you. You still have people who supported you.
It is very hard to see a patient that is not doing well, and deep inside of you, he might not make it at the end of the day. It is hard.
It was like
war. It felt like. Excuse me. It was hard. It was really hard.
We really had to move quickly. So it was all of a sudden, wow, we're in a pandemic.
We did things to try to keep patients stable, avoiding complications, but ultimately we did not know what the answer was to this infection.
So we had to get kind of savvy about certain things that we would need and try to anticipate what was going to happen next.
Very quickly, we had formulated a group called a Surge Committee meeting. We had about 150 to 200 different staff members on there, different departments, ancillary departments. We had faculty, we had nursing staff, we had pharmacists and department heads, and really took that group of people coming together to really look at what we were going to look like through this pandemic.
I was actually a part of the CHA educator group. The folks on that group were just fabulous. We all came together, we shared all of our education, we kept each other updated on what one hospital was doing, what the other hospital was doing.
Sharing of information, developing group chats, developing group texts about how we're going to do this, what do we think about this as a plan.
Bouncing ideas off to how to make it better, how to prevent going backwards, so that the state in its entirety continues to go forward.
And it really felt like healthcare came together in a new way that I had never seen before.
We all were like, this is our common goal. Every day we would get together. This is a huddle. This is how many patients we have. This is what we're going to do. This is what we need to do. So that first stage is that, oh my God, what do I do? And then the next phase is, I'm going to mobilize, and this is what I do.
I don't think that the public really has a good grasp on what hospitals had to do to step up and combat this virus. We really had to have a lot of late meetings and really put our thinking caps on and find a way to manage through all of the challenges.
How are we going to get people tested? How are we going to have people know if they have it or not and prevent other people from getting it? And how do we set that up? Because it's not out there, so we have to figure that out.
During our first surge, I was asked to start up our community testing tent. At the height of it, we had 206 locations. It was nursing homes, assisted living facilities, universities, state facilities, correction facilities, private companies, factories were coming to us. We were providing services to them.
They were wearing these huge PAPRs. They never had to collect in a setting where they were concerned about bringing home a virus. And so that was then the next phase is, I want to help you, but how do I make sure I don't hurt me or my family?
So one of the things I think the pandemic did show us is the value of every member of the team.
It really brought attention to the operations of logistics, and it gave a new appreciation for the dedication that was involved to make sure that we had the proper equipment so that we could do our job as safely as possible.
For the supply chain team, the pandemic actually brought us towards the front, because every single day we have a new challenge. Either supply shortage, recalls, counterfeit. So we want to make sure that, the quality of items that we bring in safe for our patients is safe for our staff.
And it was probably in our third week, they said, we need help in the hospital. Every hour I cleaned surfaces that our environmental staff couldn't get to. We were cleaning stairwells. We were taking temperatures, making sure everyone had a new mask for the day.
I learned not to take anything for granted when you see people that you work around, that they come in there as a sick person and that you're helping to keep the hospital clean so they can just focus on getting well.
And you would never know truly when you can take a break or, how the night was gonna go, but everyone still came back. And it was so nice to hear them say, I'm not scheduled tonight, but if it's okay, I'm gonna work because I know that they're short and I don't want them to have a bad night.
Our VPs were on the floor in scrubs, taking care of patients, helping with assignments. It was all a team.
Out in the front, we got this portable tent, and we put in computers out in the parking cul-de-sac of our ER, seeing patients on the fly there, doctors, nurses, techs in full PPE, multiple hours a day. And I'm proud of what people did. And I'm proud of how they reacted to overwhelming adversity.
We worked together to build and develop vaccination clinics for anyone that needed to get them or wanted to get one. We've done clinics in high schools, we did clinics in town halls, we did clinics in our own facility where we ran them 5 days a week, and some days 200-300 people were coming through in a 3-hour time frame.
And to be honest, in the early weeks of that pandemic, we weren't discharging a lot of them. And so when we were discharging people, it was like a big deal. You know, when you have a patient that was sick and maybe a patient that was even intubated and ended up going home, it was like a celebration.
I still remember the name of the man that made it out of bed too. He was with us for 6 weeks or so. His heart stopped 3 or 4 times. I remember driving home sobbing. He had 2 young kids. He was 40 years old. I'm like, Mom, he's not gonna make it. And he ended up making it. And he writes to us on the anniversary that he was discharged and telling us what he does and what he's been doing and thanking us.
Patient was here for a very long time. The patient was leaving via ambulance to go to a rehab. And we clapped him out. We're all like, okay, he made it, he made it. And they wheeled him out and he was waving at us. And he was like, thank you! That was why you come back. It was the ones you saved.
We're kind of now at a steady state where patients are coming back to the hospitals. We're seeing them again. The numbers from COVID are down. People are vaccinated and people are boosted.
You know, I saw their faces during the pandemic. I now see their faces after the pandemic. And it's just, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
And I think what we have learned as a healthcare system is that we have to move together. It's like an orchestra. Everybody has different parts to play, but you need to synchronize as a team and as a unit. And I think that's what we have learned. We've learned over our healthcare system to integrate more, to understand each other and move forward together.
Not everyone understood what we were facing, but our coworkers did. And knowing we could talk to them about anything was helpful.
The executive leadership was constantly checking in. How's your team doing? And I report back like, we're struggling all together, but no one's complaining and no one's leaving and no one's saying I can't do this anymore. Everyone came, showed up, and the harder it got, the harder it worked, and we did it all together.
There's so much involved in keeping it going. Watching everyone just step up and take on a role elbow to elbow with me in an ICU room, high-level director, emptying garbages in the COVID rooms with me. I mean, that speaks volumes.
It's just amazing, like, you learn what people are made of when you go through things like this, and you learn kind of like who your people are, that when things hit the fan, that you're gonna be my go-to. And they say, all right, let's go, let's get it done.
Healthcare workers are resilient. No doubt the pandemic was hard. No doubt what we went through and what continues to happen is difficult. But from it all, we have found a power inside of us that has allowed us to step up and become stronger and better for it.
You know, there are times through the pandemic where I think we all felt weak and tired at times, and we all questioned, how long is this going to go? How much longer can I do this?
Could be challenging some days, and even for us, we might be having a bad day to begin with, but we're always going to try our best.
You don't go into these types of careers to benefit yourself. You do it for your patients.
Everybody in the hospital wants to do the right thing. We're always there for our patients. We're always there for the families. We're always there for everybody who walks through the door.
I think it's because I know that I make a difference. I can see it in my patients and their family members who are grateful to us for what we do.
I've cared for some really great people who still, remain very special to me.
Because when patients come, they don't know what is happening to them. So when you are able to let them feel better and then take away some of the worries that they have, you assure them. That is what gives me joy in my job.
And I know that everything is going to be okay. It has to be for them. And we will make it okay for them.
What propels me is the idea that we are going to use the building blocks of COVID. We're going to use the framework that we established to coordinate, and we're going to extrapolate that and scale that up to doing bigger, better things.
You have to adapt. And I think that this just really solidified that we can adapt.
We have the regimen that works. We know better. We know more. You had this period of uncertainty in March 2020 that does not exist now. We're good. We can do this.
We are a workforce that has been through a lot. It's been hard. There have been tears. There have been sleepless nights. Sorry. And there's always that fear that comes along with it, but I honestly couldn't see myself doing anything else. And my current role has been one of the biggest blessings because I love taking care of people.